please elaborate on Shravanam, Mananam and Nididhyasanam. So I think Shravanam we had already talked about, which is actually is defined, and I forget the reference in from the Panchadashi. The Panchadashi also, Swami Akhandananda references that in mentioning that what Shravana means is a complete understanding of what Vedanta is saying. It doesn't mean just reading, attending a few classes, reading a few Upanishads, not that. If you are a Uttama Adhikari, then reading a few Upanishads, attending a few classes would be enough. But generally speaking, we don't find too many Uttama Adhikaris, so they are very rare. But for most of us, what we need to do is to keep studying until we get the entire picture of. And so this is what we are doing. This session here is Shravana. And so part of that is to understand what are the basic concepts that underlie, as we've said, all the 21 points. And this is just one attempt. We can look at it some different ways. And this takes years. So I mean, Paramarthananda also made him. I remember in one of his tapes, one of his talks, he had mentioned that it just takes years of study to even complete Shravanam. Shravanam is not just attending a few classes. You have to look at it from every angle. So before you can do Mananam, and actually it's not as though you have to wait until Shravanam is finished before you do Mananam. So Mananam also happens simultaneously. But the main point is that before you can do serious Mananam, you need to have a complete picture of what is Atma, what is Paramatma, what is Brahman, why this happens, this, that or the other. And then look at it from different viewpoints, either from straight logical viewpoint or also from storytelling. The Puranas is all about storytelling, or about one story which is the Mahabharata, Ramayana, and from all that you come to the what is called Tatparya Nishchaya, ascertainment of what is the one thing that they are saying. And I already told you about Adi Shankara, which says Ardha Shlokena Pravakshami Yaduktam Grantha Kotibhi Brahma Satyam Jagan Mithya Jivoho Brahma Evanatu Aparaha. He says after examining everything, you have to see that the so-called Jiva is not Parichinna, it is Aparichinna. It is in fact unlimited. And the unlimitedness is the only thing which is real. All the limitations are simply projections upon it. And this needs to be understood. You see, that's the thing. The difference between Shravanam and Mananam will be that you have no doubt about what the Vedanta is saying. This is Shravanam. Mananam is, but that's not how I feel. And then you have to reconcile what Shruti is saying and what the Yukti and Anubhava is to bring it in line. You have to say, where am I making the mistake? Why am I not getting it? all the time keeping a shraddha towards what is being pointed out. So that process is mananam, where you remove any discrepancies between what the Shruti is saying and what your experience is. And this also is a very long process. It's not easy. One interesting thing just come to my mind. So when we finished our course at PRC, where we had been studying for 2.5 hours, and I was just so happy about all the things that I had learned, and my head was this big. I thought I was a special thing by the Ishvara. Very few people like this have done to me, and I was just sort of, this is me. I know a lot. And I did know a lot, but my attitude was different. And so I thought that, there's a couple of small things that I have to take care of. I asked Swamiji one time, what is it that I need to do? And he said, just remove your doubts, casually. I didn't realize what a big thing it is to remove the doubts. But I just said, okay, all right, I understand. Then, towards the end of the course, I went to India. Perhaps even after the course, I'm not sure. And at that time, my mother was alive, and we all went to Rishikesh with my wife, 2 children, and my mom and myself in a car. And we went to the Rishikesh ashram. The ashram was also very, very sparse. I remember there was a small rivulet that we had to cross on the car, and the car almost got stuck. It was like a village at that time. And Swami Shuddhatman, who was the only person there, and he had a couple of rooms and so on, small kitchen. No, we didn't stay there. There was really nothing going on. So then we came back, but Swamiji had said, you must meet Swami Taranand, my teacher. So either he had arranged for it or already told him. So we went to see him. And I still remember so well. So Swami Taranandji, I met Swami Taranandji twice. And this is my first time. So he said, Aap kaun hai? So I told him my name is such and such. And then I'm a student to Swami Dayanand, and I have just concluded a course of 2.5 years. So he had kind of heard about it, but he says, Kya padha hai? What have you studied so far? So I was saying, Keno Upanishad, Katha Upanishad, Taittiriya Upanishad, this Upanishad, that Upanishad. I thought he would be so impressed and wonderful. So I said, I've done it all, and so on. As though I'm very close to being free, He kept quiet for a while. Then he lifted his head up and he said in Hindi, अभी तो मनन करना बाकी है ना, अभी तो श्रवण भी पूरी तरह से नहीं हुआ. What? He said, even Shravanam is not complete. 2.5 years you cannot complete a Shravanam. And Mananam, forget about it. That hasn't even started yet. And I thought I knew what Mananam was, removing of doubts. So yeah, I don't have many doubts. I have, So I'm pretty much 90% done. I didn't realize I was 5% done. So anyway, so that is what Shravanam is, and that is what Mananam is. And then Nididhyasanam, of course, is where you have pretty much removed all the doubts. You don't have any doubts about what The Shastra is saying you don't have any doubts about how to remove the discrepancy. You haven't maybe completely removed them yet, but you know how to remove it, you know pretty much what to do, and so on. Still, you are kind of behaving as you were, as though you don't know anything. You still get upset, you still have feelings of smallness, all the normal stuff, samsara. It still goes on after I finish the Shravanam, Chiring, Mananam and so on. This is the time to confront your mind and says, what is your problem? I don't understand. Why don't you understand? And to also take the help of Ishvara at that time. You have to invoke. This is why I said that in my meditation, which many people don't. That the meditation should be a confluence of jnanam and bhakti. Bhakti is not a question of doing it later, after the jnanam is finished. No. Bhakti is to request Ishvara, what the heck is going on? I should understand this fully. Why is it that I'm not getting it? Can you help me? Even point out where I'm going wrong. Swami Kandanand makes this very, very clear in one of the talks. He says that, not talk, but in talks that have been transcribed in the Brahma Sutra Bhashya. He says, sometimes he asks the questions himself and then he answers it. And the questions are in the form of, some of the people ask me. And it is true that people ask me that, Swamiji, in the study of Vedanta, then I don't need to really, what do I ask for to Ishvara? Swamiji says, it's very simple. Ask him, why am I not getting clarity? That's it. Don't do anything, when will my daughter get married and so on. You can go to the Ganesh temple for that. But if you're sitting in meditation, then this is kind of like an appointment with Ishvara. You know, he doesn't give you appointments very easily. There was this, Swami Kandanand also says that sometimes these students will come to me and say, Swamiji, and he says most people in India, he recounts that in his life, that most of the people, when they meet Swamis and so on, they don't want jnanam. They said, Swamiji, please bless me so my life becomes a little easier. Will you please touch me? This is what happens. So, when you do meditation, serious, dedicated meditation, after every day for a long time, you request Ishvara, he gives you an appointment. Don't blow it. You have only half hour and invoke his blessings. And if you do this both push and pull, you make the effort, but you also wait for the karma phala of your mind becoming clear. Then you see progress. See progress. Quite frankly, it has come to in my stage where I don't want to get up from meditation. Really. I have to just say, okay, my gosh, this has been so long, I think I have to do something, then I have to, my household duties and so on. It's so pleasant. There was a time when I had to sort of force myself to meditate no longer. So it will So that is Nididhyasanam, where the normal practice is removed. I'll give you an example of Nididhyasanam, what it's meant for. It's removing habitual error. So I remember this so well. So this is when my wife and I had decided to go back to India in 1970. And, we had been here for a while, and then I decided to keep my promise to my mother that I will come back. And this poor lady who had come all the way to the US so that she can marry me here, she had to now go back to India. So anyway, we went back to India. And on our way, we stopped at 2-3 days in Amsterdam, in Holland. And my oldest, Sanjay, was a year and a half at that time. And so the three of us stayed in a hotel. And I, of course, knew that Holland is left-hand drive. Okay, so as you come out of the hotel, the traffic comes from the right side, not from the left side. Okay, and this hotel had 2 steps before you hit the ground. And I thought that she would also remember, that this is a left-hand drive. I might have even told her specifically, be very careful and so on. She, oh yeah, I know. And her feeling was, I don't drive, so why should I really be listening? She almost got hit by the car. It was like 6 inches. She was looking this way, and the car was coming from here. Oh my God, I pulled her back. This is the case of Nididhyasanam, where your mind habitually goes where it has been going on for a long time. And now you suddenly say, don't go there, this is the wrong direction, come back here. That is basically Nididhyasana. Hope it helps.
So, I know that I don't know.
Yeah.
How is that a good thing?
How is that a good thing? Because the I knownness is constant, not removable. So the worldly knowledge, I don't know Nepalese, I know Hindi, is sometimes known, sometimes not known. So there is a variety of what is called Laukika Jnana, worldly knowledge. It's a jumbo. We have so many, most of the time we know very little, a few languages, few countries. There is so vast number of things that we don't know. But the Parabrahma, Paramatma, the Atma is above all that. Because it knows what it knows, and it knows what it doesn't know. You see, so the Laukika knowledge becomes a subset. It becomes a something which becomes a drishya. So it is actually something which is pervaded by I know. So consider what will happen if that was not the case. In other words, you really studied something and you know it. So you know it. Then you studied something and you did not study something else and you didn't know it. Okay? Now you will not be able to answer the question if I ask you, what do you know and what you don't know? See, that's the thing. life will not be possible. The life is possible because of this singularity that I know. I am the same person. If I ask you, for example, where did you do your high school? So you are able to intelligently answer that question to me because you are the same person that went to high school. You are the same person talking to me now. So you're both the cases. And you can also tell me what you didn't do. All of that. But in all cases, you're the same person. That is what is done by I know, I know, I know. So it's not a problem. In fact, that's the wonderful solution to that. Because the alternatives are not. It's not possible.
I had a question related to the previous
Okay.
Shravanam, Maranam, Vidyasanam. I understand Shravanam clearly. I also understand Vidyasanam. Removal of the habitual error, medication. This Mananam looks like to me a little bit of Shravanam, a little bit of Vidyasanam, just to self-investigating and clearing the doubts. So I just want to make it clear,
Okay.
the process of that Mananam.
Okay. So Devi is asking this question that she knows about, she understands Shravanam, she understands Nididhyasanam, but she's not sure, she's not clear about Mananam. It looks like a little bit of this and a little bit of that, and she's not sure exactly what that means. So Mananam should be considered as, Nididhyasanam, Shruti is telling you something. Let's go back to the Shravanam. Shruti is telling you some very clear ideas. This is what Gita is also saying, that the Atma is never affected by what you are seeing. Never affected. It is untouchable. Because I can just go a little bit more. Because it is avyakta. Avyakta means it is not something I can see that is affected. What I see is my mind. But the one who is a seer is an avyakta. So it cannot be affected by what the problems and so on. This is what the Shastra is telling. Okay? This is Shravanam. I don't feel that. What I feel is that any problems that occur are my problems. So I don't see what the Shastra is saying. And yet I have Shraddha in the Shastra. So I know what Shastra is saying, and I know what my experience is. They must be the same. Otherwise, I don't get any benefit from what this Shastra is saying. That process of reconciling my false experience with the truth of what Shastra is saying is what constitutes Manana.
So you go back to I get that. The process of that reconciliation is go back and clear the doubts. You go back to Shravanam and you do Nididhyasanam and then come to a conclusion, right?
No, Nididhyasanam can come later.
Later, okay.
You see, that is not, only all your doubts are done. You have no really, from a standpoint of yourself as a person, you have no doubts that this is what I am. And you have glimpses of it yourself. But you don't have any nishtha. Because, as I was saying about this experience in Amsterdam, you know what the laws are, that it is a left-hand drive, But your mind is so used to right-hand drive, you don't even look in that direction and get into trouble. So it's not as though, I mean, in that's not a complete analogy. Mananam, Shravanam is to know that in Holland they have a left-hand drive. It's like the English system, not like the American system. This is Shravanam. So when you land somewhere, that's one of the first thing you should figure out, which side of the road they drive. If you find out they are on the left, Shruti is done, finished. If you have any doubts, in India they don't, left or right is the same. It is, you just go around this and so on. It's so funny because, in San Francisco, they have experimented on traffic control on the Golden Gate Bridge. So what they used to do, they had a removable center, the divider, removable. So you have these trucks with these dividers that would move it in, so they had 6 lanes, so they would divide it 2 lanes this way, so there's 4 this way and 2 this way. Then coming back on the time, then it'll move it back to this way and so on. India is so vulnerable, it happens naturally. Nobody has to move anything. So funny. So actually the Mananam is not applicable in that particular case, because if you know what the laws are, you just follow it. But if they will have a situation where you're not, I should construct some kind of an example where, and it can happen in, when is it not okay to do something? And if you're not clear about it, you first of all are told this is the way it is. But there are some doubts about it. So clearing those doubts is Mananam. That is this the law? Absolutely. Okay, now I'll do that. And in fact, you follow the law sometime. But because you didn't quite understand it, your mind has a different feel for it. Your mind is on right-hand drive rather than left-hand drive. It still makes mistakes. And that reversal of the mistake is Nididhyasana. So Nididhyasana comes much later. What I am doing basically on Nididhyasana is Shravanam. Because you don't know, and I think you don't know all these things I'm talking about. It's the first time you're hearing it. So it's not Nididhyasana. I'm just calling it that, and we have a meditation in the morning. But really speaking, just like I did this in the light and so on, you're talking, but it's meditation. It's different. Meditation is Shravanam here. Later on, the real meditation is you know everything. You just have to recall it in your mind and train the mind. It says, listen to this. Don't look at this way, look at this way. Okay? That is Nididhyasana.
This morning in the first class session, we talked about Avasthatraya Vivek and Panchkosha Vivek. So in that, you had said, that the word that God has created, Ishvara has, that you have to understand your dreams too. That's a lingam to, what your real life, what you need to understand. That's a lingam pointing about the falsehood and the Maya, Jagat, right? And you said that Ram Tiraji and Swami Akhandananda ji both have said, really make sure that you look at your dreams and you analyze them. There's a lot to be learned from them. And then you mentioned that Ishvara has designed the day, 24-hour day, in a very carefully designed by Ishvara. Besides work and rest, we have the dream, blah, 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 right? So when I listened to that, it seemed, the word sounds very Dvaita then, not Advaita. Ishvara has designed the world, but he's different from me. He's designed the world. So I'm trying to reconcile how, but then, in Advaita, we say Atma, consciousness, Ishvara, my Atma is the Ishvara, so there's no difference. And yet when I hear a statement like he's designed the day, then that looks like there's Ishvara and there's Atma. So I'm just trying to get some clarification on that.
So Rani's question is that on one hand we said Ishvara designed this, I didn't design it, Ishvara did. And she's talking about the Avasthatraya. And the other case, in meditation, we said Ishvara and I are one and the same. So there's a discrepancy as to which Ishvara are you talking about? It's a good question. So the answer to that is that until you understand the two are the same, you have to follow the laws of Ishvara. And it is okay to submit to him as a separate person and so on. But that is pending the knowledge that the greatest bhakti is the knowledge that only Ishvara is, I am not there. So that is not easy to get to. So until you get to, do not reject Ishvara, but be under the control of Ishvara and seek his help. This is why we do pujas and so on and so forth. So it is okay to have, because you cannot do a puja to yourself. You have to do puja to somebody else. And so it is okay to do puja because it is in the same direction. You should not be going to happy hour. You should be coming to puja. So that's good, because even though Ishvara is different from you, because it's going in the same direction, but eventually you should tell Ishvara, it'll be okay to add, in fact we should do this. If I were to build a temple, I'd do that. At the end of this whole thing, I will say, Ishvara, you and I are the same. So that'll be very nice. Now, in the end, we should say, Ishvara, I've given you a lot of prayers about Rudram and Purusha Suktam and so on, but it is time for you to teach me that you and I are non-different. There should be a prayer. That'll be very nice. So that's what it is. It is...
Well, that's a Shivo, that's a Nirvana Shatkam.
Shivoham, Shivoham. Yeah. Correct.
Hamasi.
Yeah. So there's no discrepancy. Yeah, so the Avasthatraya was designed, and it is designed basically in partnership with you and I. Because in our slow development, what we want is order. I want to live in some place where I can express my ideas and my actions, and I have friends and family and mother and father and so on and so forth. And please give me an environment where I can not only deal nicely with everybody, but I go to the end, which is what is going on, where am I? And so for that, of course, the highest form is a study of the self, which is the Vedanta. But until then, you please give me protection. Yeah.
When you're talking about Bhayam, Sadhana, Anta, Sadhana, he said that Bhayam Sadhana is removing Mamta, and Anta Sadhana is removing Asakti.
Correct.
So this is shloka in
No, wait, sorry. That's not true. Asakti is also part of Bahir Sadhana, Bahiranga Sadhana.
Or removing Ahanta.
Ahanta, yeah.
So is it, there's a verse in 2nd chapter, 71st verse, it says Nirmamo Nirankara. So me and minus. So is this referring to the same thing or different?
Not really. So Nirmamo
Nirankara.
Nirankara.
71st verse.
No, that's a good point. Yeah, I hadn't thought of that.
The verse is Vihaya Kamanas Sarvan Pumansh Sarati Nispriya Nirmamo Nirankara Sashanti.
You can easily see that these two things are there.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, Nirmamo Nirankara. Nirahankara. Yeah? So this is removing mamata and ahanta. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
71.
71.
But is Ananta, Ahanta then Ahankar, ego, minus?
Pretty much. See, the thing is that ahankara should be considered in the Vedantic sense. In the Laukika sense, it refers to excessive.
Yeah, ego.
Everybody has to have some ego, but if somebody has, this is amanitvam adam dambhitvam, then we call that guy has got an ego. This is not the meaning. This is the normal ego.
See, if the identification with self is the ego here.
Yeah, exactly.
In paramaರ್ಥिक sense, the ego is my individual BMI.
Yeah.
From say that one more time.
From paramaರ್ಥिक दृष्टिकोण, my ahankara doesn't mean my individual BMI.
Yes.
They're the same.
Can you explain the Chidabhasa a little bit? Would you consider that ego or?
Chidabhasa, no. Chidabhasa contributes to the ego, but it doesn't have to. So Chidabhasa means that there is a basis for our sense of limitation. We have a sense of limitation. I'm a limited person. I'm only this much. I'm not everything. So there's reasonable basis for doing that. How does that basis wrong? It's a wrong basis. But there is a basis. Chidabhasa is the basis. Because, in fact, I was going to, maybe in tomorrow's class, this is one of the very subtle viveka, because we can discuss that even now. I think out of all the vivekas, the most difficult and therefore the most beneficial, the final viveka is the viveka between aham and chidabhasa. In other words, between I and the ahankara. Because they look very close to each other. And for lots of reasons. One of them is that I am very comfortable with who I am, as I was mentioning earlier. I like myself. I cannot dislike myself. So for all those reasons, those qualities of Atma get reflected sort of into Ahankara. But there's a big difference because the I is unlimited and the Ahankara is limited. So in the sense, the Abhasa, so we had gone into the types of reflection. So it was Abhasa, and then it was Pratibimba, and it was what was enclosure. What's the Sanskrit? Avacheda. But so you can look at it, any of those three, doesn't matter. But let's say Pratibimba is also pretty close. So if you look at yourself in the mirror, the mirror gives you a pretty accurate reflection of who you are from the front. It doesn't give you the idea from the back, but on the front. Your face, your front, and so on. It gives you a very good accurate. And so, you do things like shaving for men based on what you're looking at in the mirror. You don't look at it and on yourself. So you are completely relying on a very accurate reflection to make assessment on what you want to do. Okay? So the abhasa, chidabhasa, is a very close resemblance to who you are, but that's not you. This viveka between something which is very close to you, but not you, is difficult. Difficult, and it requires, because our mind says, what do you mean? I'm pretty much there. I am seeing things and everything very close to it. But my feeling that I am and I'm seeing and yet I'm enclosed is Chidabhasa. I would say then that if you were to remove the final Anantata, that would make you see yourself much more accurately. But I kind of take a couple of gunas and add some things that I don't know for a fact, but I assume that I'm going to die. I assume that because of the connection with the body-mind. So that feeling can be called as Chidabhasa. So this Chidabhasa is discussed very elaborately in Drikdrishya Viveka. And it'll be interesting, I could, Chandra and I were talking about starting some kind of an audio podcast on specifically some topic. So this would be an interesting thing where you say where we make the mistake, and you just take one or two verses from the Viveka and just expand on it for about 20 minutes, maybe more than that. So yeah, that could be done. It would be wonderful. But anyway, we could probably study sometime. Very useful. It clarifies exactly what Chidabhasa is in that discussion of Drikdrishya Viveka. It's amazing how you can get, what used to be luxury at one time becomes a necessity. I mean, I had no idea how useful these watches will possibly be until you start using them. So I have a Google Watch because I belong to the Google family, but Apple Watch, etc. Apple Watch is even better. It is amazing how useful it is. And, just so it rings on both places just now. I could hear the ring here, but if I'm away from the phone, I can talk. I can talk to my son sometimes, and he said, "What are you using?" So I said, "I'm just doing the watch." He said, "My God, it is so clear. You cannot tell the difference. How can they have so much audio? So much, just in this small thing. It's just incredible." And then, of course, probably the most important one counting of the steps. Realistically, that's
Computer on the wrist.
computer on the wrist. And I don't want to, but sometimes I feel here, for example, I wear my watch because if I wake up in the middle of the night, because times are all changed, and if you wake up, you don't know whether it's 1 o'clock or 4 o'clock or what. And if you turn to the watch or turn the light on, you just look at the watch and then just love it. That's very good.
You know, I have one, I never wear it.
Oh,
It's
really?
sitting on my desk and I have a
Which one?
Apple Watch. I'm like, it's so useless.
No.
It needs to be charged every
No,
night.
it's always sitting on the charge. It's always sitting on the charging port.
Do you know, and they say, as you grow older, it really helps you. Should I tell you one very interesting,
Yeah. Tell me one use of it then.
well, this you don't want to really hear this.
Okay.
Okay? So, I am not sure who told me, my memory gets, anyway, it's about 6 months ago, we went to a big party in somewhere here. And then I met this woman and I said, how are you doing, and so on. She says, well, I'm recovering from my fall. So I said, really, what happened? She says, well, I don't know where she was going or something. And she fell in such a way that she could not get up. And on the fall, she hit her wrist on the ground. The watch automatically called her. No, actually they called her. And so, do you need help?
Wow.
And she said, yes. Then they called 911.
Yes, there's a fall detection feature basically. So,
Fall detection, yeah.
yeah, so
And also, I was falling a couple of times, so I went to the cardiologist, I didn't know what's happening. And she told me to go get an Apple Watch, wear it. I want
Absolutely.
to see when you next time when you fall, I want to see
Precisely.
because it records your heart rhythm. Yeah. So if it is a rhythm problem, they will detect that that's a problem.
Very.
This cardiologist told me to go get the watch.
even I will start
Then when you have
wearing
blood pressure and then
Blood pressure and all kinds of things.
Yeah, like I
the sugar level also, I think.
too much technology on your
I
body.
don't know, some people said that.
So the later
The
watches
apps
have
will
more
do this
features.
Yeah, they are adding more and more health monitors.
Yeah, there's a lot of help.
Remove your bodies too.
What?
No, I'm just joking.
What is it?
But as long as we are there, we have to
Very
take,
soon, you can tell you what bodies you have.
What did you say?
I have with underclass. I would say I can track your GPS. You said you were to Salesburg. How come you did Miami?
Alvin?
Can I do the pratna?
Sure. Yeah.
So it's sent to everyone.
Okay. Is
I
this the
sent on
few days ago? Yeah.
6 around 8:37 a.m.
Oh, it's on the watch?
Yeah.
Oh.
No. You can watch on the wall.
No, I'm sorry, I meant to say on the phone. I was looking at the.
WhatsApp.
No, I meant to say the phone.
It's in that retreat.
It's Sayam Pratna by Shankaracharya, Vishnu Satpati.
I'll send it out again so people don't have to look for it. Especially you don't have it right there. I'm resending it within the group, so it's at the bottom now. Or the top. Just now I said
Yeah.
Got it.
And that morning.
So you want to read it? Are you gonna read it?
Okay, got it.
He said
Okay, we can start. I think we, Ben and Sujata, you can start. Vinaya Makanaya Vishnu Dhamaya Manusaya Vishaya Mukha samsara sagar Divyadumi makarande parimala paribhoga satchidanande Shripati padarvinde bhavabhayakhetachide vande Satyamiveda Natatavam Namamahinasvam Samudro Vitarangavachara Samudro Nataranga Drashte bhavati prabhavati na bhavati kim bhavati raskara Masadi viravatare Parameshwara paripalyo bhavata bhavata pavito Namo Dhargunamandire Sundara Vadana Ravinda Govinda Bhavajagati Matanamandara Paramam Dharmapadayam Me Narayana Karunamaya Sharanam Karavami Tavakam Charanam Iti Sharpati Matiye Madana Sajaruji Sarasatu.
Good. Nice. Okay. So that was, for the people not here, a recitation of the Vishnu Shatpadi, composed by Adi Shankara. Vishnu Shatpadi, 6 stanzas. That was the chanting for that.
Was it sent to us?
Sorry?
Yeah, was it sent to us? It's amazing how many different stutis and texts, etc. Adi Shankaracharya ji has composed in his short life. It's just amazing.
A lot of that is not, he may not have
It's
done it.
ascribed to him.
Ascribed to him.
So, I have a question. You said in the beginning, Adi Shankara is a Muni,
Yes,
not Rishi.
not a Rishi.
Sounds like Rishi, like
Yeah.
so young age.
It's considered
Yeah.
accomplished, that is considered Ishvara.
No, he had a teacher. He was looking for a teacher, and he found it in Madhya Pradesh. I knew this by heart, what happened to my memory. We actually went to see that place. His teacher, he just happened, he was on his way to Rishikesh or someplace, and he was just staying somewhere, and what's his guru's name? Is it Govindapada?
No, that's Paramahansa, Guru's Guru.
Yeah, Guru's Guru is Govinda. No, his immediate guru.
Govindacharya is his Guru, Gaudapada is
Gaudapada is Guru's Guru.
Okay, Govindacharya. So the story goes that he happened to be staying near in this town near
Bhagavatapada.
Bhagavad, of course, is the title.
He teaches a Shaivite sanctuary along a river in north central state of India and becomes the disciple of a teacher named Govinda Bhagavatapada.
Jyotirlinga, they have a location.
Yeah.
We went on Narmada.
Yeah, near Narmada.
Yeah. They have a big statue of
They have a big
And
statue.
in fact, Swami Viditatmananda ji
Yeah.
has just been given a major title at that place.
right.
I think
It
so.
was inaugurated 2 years ago that
It's
that
Yeah.
Yeah,
statue.
Ekat, yeah.
And then the Chief Minister of Madhya Pradesh invited all these Swamis from Rishikesh
Yes,
Ashram.
yes.
Many of them went.
So Mahanandaji was
Swami Paramatmananda wanted to have a big statue of Adi Shankara there. All of this, I don't know where it is now.
It's an Omkaresh.
Omkar,
Yeah,
yeah.
Omkareshwar.
Omkareshwar.
There is also one right behind the Kedarnath temple.
Yes, the Modi ji had inaugurated that.
Beautiful temple.
Yeah.
I mean, beautiful Vigraha.
But anyway, to complete the story that he's a Muni, not a Rishi, is because he was looking for a teacher and he happened to stay in a place and he met Govindacharya and asks him such questions that Govindacharya says, who are you? What, you should really study these things. So he says, will you teach it to me? He says, sure. So he broke his journey and stayed with him. And that's where he really understood the whole thing, yeah. Omkareshwar.
But he must have already been an elevated soul,
Like
right?
he already-
Like from all the prior
Absolutely.
lives
That's
to
right.
get it.
I mean,
I
he was
think that's
already
where he formed, what is that?
Sringeri.
Stotra, Nirvana Satakam.
Nirvana Shatkam.
Yeah,
Chidanandan.
yeah, Chidana.
That's where he composed.
No, because the Guru asked the question and he formed that, I believe.
I see.
He said, who are you? Then he said, Chittani
Mano
Ankar.
Buddhi Ahankara,
Okay.
Jnana, Nachakshu.
Yeah.
Starting from there.
I don't know what happened to my pic. I actually took a picture. They allowed me to go inside the cave and take pictures of Govindacharya, and I don't know anything about Shankaracharyas, I don't remember. But it's not a very high, you have to really bend down, all dark, beautiful.
Guruji talked about Ramtirth today.
About
Ramtirth, Swami Ramtirth.
Yeah,
Ramatirth.
The one you said.
yeah, okay.
He was almost the same time frame like Vivekananda, and we read his biography. He was a professor of mathematics in Lahore, Pakistan those days.
I see.
And he was a stronger Vedantin compared to even Vivekananda.
I see.
So much confident about who he is.
Arvind is talking about Swami Ramatirtha, and so he's giving us his introduction to that. I see.
Yeah, we get 2 volumes. I don't know where we got it,
Ah,
but we are studying as a part of the regular satsang.
yeah.
I don't remember much now, of course.
There's a book which was highly recommended by somebody that has a title like The Great Preceptors of Vedanta. And it gives a kind of a storyline, century by century. In each century, who were the major thinkers and Mahatmas of that century? It's in that book. I think I've seen that book, but I don't have it.
His second or third generation disciple, he had the ashram on Narmada river, and we went there. When I visited that ashram, Swami Jyoti Tirth, he was almost 90. he could hardly walk. But
But
then
he-
after, I don't know.
But here he says he was born on October 22nd, 1817 in Gujranwala, Pakistan, and then died October 17, 1906 at the age of 32 years in New Delhi, India.
Who are you talking about?
Swami
Ramatirtha.
It's possible even if Swami Vivekananda died at age 39, right?
Yeah, but he's saying
No, not.
Yeah, Gujaratwala is correct now.
It's two
I do
generations
remember.
down, some disciple he met, not him.
Oh, I see. But here is a life and works of Advaita Acharya Swami Ramatirtha. There is like a recorded lecture.
All this means that all of us should be very careful about talking about these things, because everybody has Chat GPT
Yeah.
and they
Check
can
the facts.
negate you, right?
You can
Do
fact
not
check right
talk until you are sure of what you're talking about.
I want to share one thing about Swami Ramatirtha. In one of the
Let's do that one thing. I think there's people on this, they cannot hear any of that. Let's say goodbye and then we can talk.
Okay.
Om Asatoma Satkamaya Namasoma Jyote Gamaya Mrityorma Amritam Gamaya Om Purnamadav Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadhaya Purnameva Vasishyate Om Shanti 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 Hari Om Shri Gurubhyo Namah Hari